Hey everybody, and welcome back to another episode of What You See is What You Get. I am still fighting a terrible head and chest cold. Today is day 10 of it. It feels like it's literally never going to end. And on top of that, I am filming from the very glamorous location of a shared storage facility that we rent for my work. So it's like this part is stuff from the other company that shares this room, and then that room in there is where we store a lot of our product from my company. But it's a basement room. It's not heated, so it is freaking freezing, and it's like concrete floors and concrete walls. So it's just a really not friendly environment, but I have to put together a shipment for work, and so I'm here and it's my lunch break, so I figured why not film my 8-week pregnancy update. It's funny because like when I turned 7 weeks pregnant and when I turned 8 weeks pregnant, I was like, wow, like this is crazy, this thing is flying, I cannot believe I made it to this point. I didn't even think about making it to this point. But tomorrow I will be turning 9 weeks, so I'm 8 weeks and 6 days today. And it's just sort of like, how am I not 20 weeks pregnant yet? The past week feels like it lasted a whole lifetime. Today is Wednesday, September 29th, 2021. I am 8 weeks and 6 days pregnant. I weighed in this morning at 65.3 kilo. So all I know off the top of my head is that is a 1.3 kilo gain from the beginning of my pregnancy. But quite honestly, 2 days ago, I weighed in at 64.9. And then yesterday I weighed in at 65.8. And then today I'm 65.3. So like I said in my last video, my weights are swinging wildly by a full kilo, which really isn't that much. It's like a 2.2 pound swing, but I swing that like every 24 hours. My body does not know what's happening to it. And it's really all still, my digestion is a little upside down. I started taking iron supplements this week because, yeah, I always have iron problems in pregnancy. So this time I didn't wait to be comatose. I just decided, whatever, I'm just going to start taking supplements now. And so like my digestion is slow. My hydration is good some days. It's terrible some days. I throw up a lot more some days and not other days. I have days where I eat more carbs, more salt, etc. So it's not reliable right now, but it is something I track. So there you go. In terms of symptoms, we'll start with what is continuing to be the same week over week. And the main symptom that I'm dealing with every day is nausea and vomiting. I'm not going to call it morning sickness because it is all day sickness for me. It does tend to get worse in the evenings, but it's getting worse overall. In my 6-week update, I think I said that so long as I ate little snacks, I could keep it at bay. And then in my 7 and 8 week updates, I believe I had mentioned how as long as I'm getting good sleep, my nausea is not too bad until like the late afternoon, early evening. Now it does not matter whether I'm eating or not eating. It does not matter whether I'm sleeping or not sleeping. I have constant background nausea. It ranges from mild to moderate, so I'm not complaining. It is not to the point where I'm suffering or I'm desperate. It's not anywhere near to the point where I would need medication. I don't even feel like I need B6 or Unisom, although I do take like a third of a dose of Unisom at night still to help me sleep because of like insomnia issues. It's not, the nausea itself is not bad. However, I'm still throwing up daily. And today, like, it's only lunchtime and I've already been sick 4 or 5 times. So it's exasperated by things. I'm having, I guess I'm skipping ahead right now. I'll get to this in a minute in more detail, but I'm having a lot of food aversions. And so now whenever I even so much as think of those foods, let alone see them, smell them, etc., that just triggers gagging and throwing up. This cold I have is awful. Every time I cough, every time I have I need to blow my nose, it's so much fluid in all the places right now that when it happens, like when I'm blowing my nose or coughing or whatever, it can trigger gagging and throwing up. Sometimes when I even just think about it, it will trigger gagging and throwing up. So I'm not necessarily throwing up because my nausea is so bad. It's just happening because of other things that immediately turn my stomach. The main theme of my pregnancy so far has been belching. It is constant and continuing. I want to say it's not as bad this week as it was in previous weeks, but it is still constant and definitely triggers throwing up. And it triggers my nausea more than it does actually throwing up. It just turns my stomach so bad. I'm still continuing to have wild dreams. I think they're either normalizing or I'm just getting used to them. So I don't think about them or notice them as much. It's just sort of become like a normal thing to me. I'm still having them and they're very weird and they're in unfamiliar settings and they're based off of unfamiliar themes and topics than what I'm used to dreaming about when I'm not pregnant. But it's just not something that I think as being crazy anymore. It's just sort of feels normal. I'm still dealing with sore boobs, mostly my nips. I don't know, it's hard to say because when I touch and poke and stuff, I can't locate where it's tender. But now when I lay on my stomach, that pressure is a little uncomfortable up top. And I do feel like they're getting a little bit bigger, a little bit fuller. I am super emotional. That is definitely something that has gotten worse this week. I could cry at the drop of a hat right now about anything, about nothing. I could sit here and just start crying. Still dealing with round ligament pain. It's becoming more frequent and definitely more painful, especially with this godforsaken cold I have. And I start coughing in the middle of the night. It's just it probably would feel less painful if someone just stabbed me with a knife straight into my side. It is so painful. And my uterus is definitely getting bigger. The bloating, whatever, it doesn't matter what causes it. It's growing. It's becoming a thing now. Last week I didn't have any bloating at all, but this week definitely I just can't hide this situation. My mother-in-law commented on the fact that I already have a bump. I mean, a bump. It's not caused by the baby's size, but it's caused by pregnancy. And I definitely am showing that much sooner this pregnancy than any of my other pregnancies. So those are the symptoms that have remained the same, although they have gotten noticeably worse this week versus previous weeks. The new things I'm having, I touched upon this before, is slower digestion, much more bloating. I need a blood transfusion after every time I brush or floss. My gums are bleeding so hardcore. They are so sensitive. They are just... Here's an interesting one. I also think this is linked to the iron supplements, but I am actually not dealing with fatigue right now. I have felt more or less pretty great in terms of energy levels. The Unisom is helping me to sleep at night. I am getting full 10-hour nights of sleep every night, so that definitely contributes. I'm also not as physically active as I normally am, so I'm not depleting myself as much. And I mean, I do catch a 15-minute cat nap in the afternoon when I pick up my kids from school as it is. So I guess I'm kind of probably dealing with some fatigue, but it's not anything I've noticed. In my past 2 pregnancies, the fatigue was major, but this time it's not something I would even complain about. Now let's get into the fun stuff, which is the food aversions, the cravings, everything that has to do with food. I am very much dealing with food aversions. First of all, almost all food sounds disgusting to me. It used to be just oh, I just don't want to eat it. It doesn't sound appetizing. But now we're like getting into the realm of that sounds repulsive. When I see it, when I smell it, when I think about it, a lot of things now very much repulse me. I even just thinking about some stuff this morning, I had to run to the toilet and be sick. Some of the most offensive foods for me are anything that's overly salted. And if you guys have been following me, you all know I love salty food. I am a salt fiend. And not only that, but I have low blood pressure. And so I need the salt to keep me from passing out every time I stand up. So that's been a really interesting thing. But we harvested some of our fresh chard the other day and I sauteed it and accidentally oversalted it. And that's been a week. That was a week ago. And even still, just the thought of it turns my stomach and makes me want to throw up. Just the thought of the oversalted chard. Oil. Looking at oil, thinking about oil makes me want to vomit. Like I cannot even think about it right now. I can't see it. I don't want to think about oil. Like I give my kids vitamin D diffused into oil drops every day. And the thought of them having to swallow that, like the thought of it being in the back of the throat and swallowing oil, gag city. I can't do it. Anything that is really high sugar, like candy or cake or treats, that is extremely, very much a huge turnoff for me. And then another random one, I'm sure there's like a bunch of things that could probably set me off, but we just don't have it in the house. But one thing we do have in the house right now is falukorv, which is like this processed sausage thing they have here in Sweden. My husband and kids love it. I've never really been a fan of it, but now the sight of it, the thought of it, the smell of it cooking, I have to leave the house. I cannot be around it. It immediately makes me just want to be sick. I do have one very legitimate and extreme craving. I craved this with my son also. It's so intense that I have moments of true desperation to the point where I cry, and I have like very exasperated moments of like just desperation that I can't have it. And that is sushi, particularly like the rolls that have the salmon sashimi over it, and then you have the salmon and the avocado in it. There's a roll I used to get in California that was salmon and avocado and mango, and then also spicy tuna, and it's all wrapped up in one of those soy paper hand wraps. And then it came with like just like a flavor-rich mayo type sauce that they would drizzle on top. My mouth is watering just talking about it. It's desperate. It's a desperate time for me. But with my son, I feel like this faded once I got into the second trimester, so I'm hoping the same will happen this time. As for the actual foods that are sustaining me right now, oatmeal. I have oatmeal every day. A bowl of warm, soft oatmeal, a little bit of salt, a little bit of honey, a little bit of milk, a little bit of cream. It does it for me. ProPud is another thing I've always been able to go to. It's this chocolate pudding that's just high protein. It's like a protein fitness type snack. It's like having a protein bar, but it's pudding. Yogurt sits with me well. Bananas, really love bananas. Bananas do it for me right now. Oftentimes I'll have it with peanut butter. It's like, it stays with me really well. It tastes very good. It's satisfying. Fruit or anything that's like fresh and a high liquid, like a high volume of liquids. So watermelon, ice cold watermelon, juicy, fresh, crisp, refrigerator cold grapes, and then soups. I was on a chicken noodle soup kick last week, and then one day I had it and it just was disgusting. The flavor totally changed. It was still fresh, totally fine, but just that day I tasted it and was like, nope, can't do this at all anymore. I had to throw out the whole rest of the batch. I have had a couple other dishes that tasted really good. Like I was really craving smoked ham and boiled cabbage, and I made it and it was delicious. And then I got sick, like I got like a wave of nausea and stuff afterward. And now just the thought of those foods turns my stomach. So like cravings when you're dealing with morning sickness are really tricky because you run the risk of taking a food that sounded really delicious and turning it into something that you absolutely cannot even think about, you can't stand, you can't even cope with. All right, let's wrap up this update. Workouts. Now that my cold is becoming more manageable, I'm still super symptomatic, but it's manageable. I have started lifting again. Today and yesterday, I did a in the house workout, and I will put it up here because I don't want to waste time describing it, but basically it's 3 supersets and then 1 finisher exercise. And I did 3 sets of each superset, and they were a combination of just body weight and using a 15-kilogram sandbag that I have in my house for when I want to work out, but say I have the kids, I can't go to the gym or anything like that. So it's a full body workout, and there's like ways that I can switch up the exercises, but I have become considerably weak over the past couple weeks. I don't know if it's because I'm sick. I don't know if it's just because I'm depleted and I'm pregnant. I don't know if it's because the fact that my blood supply is being diverted to different activities in my body, but I get winded easily. I do not have the strength that I had before. I have lost a lot of strength, or at least I don't have it at the moment. And so doing body weight exercises and doing just exercises using this sandbag, it's plenty enough weight to give me a very challenging workout. I feel sick no matter whether I work out or not. So lifting, at least it makes me feel like I'm doing something despite my current circumstance. Once I get those first 15 minutes under my belt and I've got the ball rolling, I feel incrementally better as my workout goes, so that by the time I'm done, I hardly notice the nausea is there. It comes back after about 30 minutes, but at least I can get a break from it and do a workout and feel like myself again for 45 minutes. I will say yesterday, like a third of the way through my workout, I had to stop and throw up. And then today, like 20 minutes after I worked out, I threw up like 4 times. So I don't know. It's challenging to feel nauseous and lift. But at the end of the day, getting the workouts in despite everything, working on my diet despite everything, it has only just benefited me so much mentally. Speaking about diet, my diet's been back on track. I have had a couple moments, like last night we had a lot of pizza, but that was a one-off thing. The rest of the week, I've been eating all of my like normal macro-balanced foods, cottage cheese and grapes, red bell pepper and hummus. Hummus, I know, like supposedly you're not supposed to eat that in pregnancy, but it's a thing I'm dealing with right now. Oatmeals, I'm eating healthy, whole foods, and I feel really good about that. It makes me feel like I'm not digging a hole for myself, basically. Lastly, this is like the biggest bit of news. My first scan was not supposed to be until October 28th. I would have been 13 weeks, but I have been just in anguish about that. It has really affected my ability to bond with this baby. I have, at this point, kind of gotten over my anxieties and insecurities of early pregnancy. I still know anything could happen, but I don't feel as much of the daily, constant, crippling anxiety as I did in those earlier weeks. But I've noticed that having not seen a baby yet on a screen, I'm not allowing myself mentally to actually believe something is in my belly. Social media has really scarred me for life because I've just seen too many instances where either the baby's heartbeat stopped at 6 weeks and they don't even find out until 10, or blighted ovums and things like that. I just can't bring myself to allow myself to believe that there's something actually there. And I was talking to my mom about this, and she just straight up told me, she's like, I will pay for it. Go get a scan. My mom is also tired of keeping this a secret because she's the only person on my side of the family that knows. And so I booked a private scan for this Sunday, and the best part is they allow you to film the whole thing. So I'm going to vlog the whole experience. For better or worse, I'm going to capture it all on film, and so that will be like an extra bonus upload I'm going to do either Sunday or Monday of a couple days from now. That is all I have for you guys. This was a long one. Thank you for sticking with me. But stay tuned because in a few days I'll have that ultrasound video to upload. So see you guys then. Bye.